In front of an imposing castle shrouded by dark clouds, the famed heroes' party is prepared to raid the structure. With resolve in their hearts, the party advances, determined to defeat the demon lord and end his reign. The massive doors of the castle creak open, revealing countless red eyes glowing. As the heroes step inside, waiting for them is not the demon lord, but one of his powerful lackeys, Yoki, who stands in their way. Makana attacks without hesitation, launching a blazing red fireball. The spell dissipates and Yoki belittles the attack. Raven charges next, swinging his sword. Yoki counters with a powerful kick that sends him flying. Yuga steps forward, supported by Cecilia, who helps power his attack. He unleashes a thunderous strike, but Yoki counters it and easily overwhelms the attack with his own magic. The heroes take a direct hit, and all of them eventually lose consciousness. A bright yellow-orange light gathers in his hand as he begins absorbing their remaining energy. His actions pause when his gaze lands on Cecilia. Her unconscious expression, which appears as if sleeping, captivates him. Lost in thought, he fails to notice the arrival of his subordinates until they loudly announce themselves. They bluntly ask whether they should finish off the heroes and also tease him for ogling one of the girls. Rather than killing them, he orders the heroes to be thrown outside near a nearby human village. Though his subordinates complain and warn him that he could be reprimanded again for not killing the heroes, they follow his command. 1 month later, Yoki faces the demon lord and his subordinate, Zykill. Zykill voices his displeasure since, despite the heroes' party's repeated defeats, they still keep challenging Yoki. The demon lord, annoyed with the heroes' party, tells Yoki that he will have his subordinates kill them off since Yoki seems unwilling to do it. Knowing his own subordinates won't be able to stand against the heroes, Yoki insists on taking care of the problem since he also worries about Cecilia's safety. As he leaves the throne room, Yoki reflects on his actions. He knows that sparing the heroes may endanger their lives in the future. Yet he also believes that they possess the potential to defeat the demon lord. With each passing day, the world inches closer to falling under demonic rule. On their next encounter, the heroes launch a coordinated attack. Raven and Yuga strike together, attempting to overwhelm Yoki with sheer force, but Yoki throws them off toward a wall, dealing significant damage. Makana raises her staff and fires a barrage of magic attacks. The spells strike Yoki directly, yet they fail to leave even a scratch. Yoki notices that Cecilia has moved to heal the wounded. Yoki watches her movements closely, captivated once again by her beauty. Despite their recovery, he laughs, mocking their efforts and warning them that they will only be swallowed by darkness again. Yuga prepares another attack, asking Cecilia for support. As he moves to strike Yoki, a bright light and smoke signal that the attack is connected. But as the smoke clears, Yoki stands unharmed. Yuga is shocked because it is supposed to be their party's destiny to defeat the demon lord. Seeing the party's determination, Yoki proposes a negotiation. He offers to let the heroes pass if they leave Cecilia behind, gesturing to her. Yuga immediately refuses, but Makana urges him to think of the world's salvation, as it holds more importance than a single person. Yuga is still hesitant to abandon a party mate, but Cecilia tells him to accept the offer, insisting she will be fine. With hesitation, Yuga decides to take Yoki's offer, and the heroes proceed to the demon lord's room. Left alone, Cecilia confronts Yoki, demanding to know why he needed her to stay. Yoki's expression changes to a timid one, but Cecilia decides to attack him. Yoki is shocked by her hostility, as her attack just bounces off him. To calm her down, he raises his hand, calling for a pause, and introduces himself. He reveals that he has no intention of killing her. Cecilia is confused by his words, but cautiously asks him what he means. Taking a deep breath, he confesses that he fell in love with her at first sight and would like to go out with her. Cecilia stands frozen in shock before bowing her head and apologizing, refusing his proposal. Crushed, Yoki lowers his defenses and falls to the ground, declaring that he should just die now. Cecilia prepares another attack, but Yoki makes no attempt to resist, which makes Cecilia uneasy, so she demands to know his reason. Yoki explains that her rejection means he no longer has a reason to live. If he were to be left alive, he would still be stuck in the castle and can only leave if he has orders to attack human settlements, which he doesn't want to do. Cecilia is puzzled because demons are supposed to find joy in bringing terror to humans. Yoki explains that he is actually a human from a different dimension, but was reincarnated into this demonic body. Though he possesses the power to defeat the demon lord, doing so would force him to inherit the title. Yoki shares that living as a lackey under the demon lord felt isolated and purposeless. He has spent his days alone. Meeting Cecilia changed everything. For the first time since becoming a demon, he felt alive. Moved by his words, Cecilia urges him to live and use his power for good. She offers him a chance to leave the castle and join the outside world. After the demon lord's defeat, the kingdom of Clarinus erupts in celebration. King Darts declares a 3-day celebration for a victory memorial day to properly celebrate the heroes' party's success. Just outside the kingdom's walls, Yoki prepares to fit in and breaks his horn. Meanwhile, the heroes' party is in a parade. Mikana shares her joy at their success with Yuga. Yuga credits their victory to Cecilia, who gives him a nervous smile. Seeing this interaction, Mikana feels a little jealous. Yoki finally enters town and registers at the Adventurers Guild, disguising himself as a human. Clayman is manning the reception desk and struggles to find the form Yoki needs. He eventually finds it and shows Yoki's guild card, indicating Yoki is at F rank. He explains the ranking system and how it usually takes a month to move up a rank. Before handing Yoki his card, Clayman emphasizes keeping the guild cards safe, since it is a hassle to reissue, especially in the next 3 days since a festival is ongoing. He complains that they are currently understaffed and does not want to do the work himself. This makes Yoki think Clayman is lazy. He finally hands Yoki the card and introduces himself. At the Kingdom's Inn, Yoki checks his earnings for the day and notes that he has made a lot of money. His new goal is to increase his cash and rank, and once he has a stable life, confess to Cecilia again. He laughs maniacally in glee, determined to make their love work. In a week, rumors circulate about a person who has been crazily climbing up the ranks. Yoki lazily enters the guild and hands Clayman a bunch of quests he would like to take. Clayman is annoyed that Yoki always makes him do the paperwork and complains that he should approach the female receptionist instead. Yoki refuses, saying he has grown attached to Clayman and would rather talk to him since he surprisingly works fast. Due to his impressive rise in the rank ladder, Clayman starts interrogating Yoki about his identity. Looking away, Yoki counters that he is only a normal novice adventurer. Clayman mentions that it is odd since Yoki ranked up from F to D in a mere week. Despite this, Clayman tells Yoki that he investigated the matter and is sure Yoki did not cheat. Their conversation is cut short by a cloaked figure who requests that Yoki's quests be cancelled. Both Yoki and Clayman recognize her as Cecilia, and Cecilia shushes Clayman since he almost revealed her identity. Cecilia has important matters to discuss with Yoki and invites him to her family estate so they can talk. They ride a coach to her estate, where 2 guards are eagerly awaiting Cecilia's return. One guard is surprised when Yoki is the first to exit the coach, so he immediately threatens him. Cecilia comes to Yoki's defense, saying that he is her friend. However, Yoki is feeling a bit disappointed since he was just labeled as a friend. In the estate's sitting room over warm cups of tea, Cecilia apologizes for not being able to meet Yoki earlier, which Yoki says is fine since he is busy being an adventurer. Yoki is even surprised by how Cecilia was able to find him. Cecilia explains that it wasn't hard since he is currently the talk of the town for ranking up so fast. This causes a smug grin to form on Yoki's face. However, Cecilia then tells him to quit the Adventurers Guild. This shocks Yoki, but Cecilia continues by saying that even if the Demon Lord is gone, other threats are emerging. She predicts the next one might be a war between nations. The signs of a possible war are already showing up with the hero receiving a lot of engagement offers. Status, money, and marriage are ways many nations may use as resources at their disposal to gather military strength and manpower. Since Yoki ranked up unbelievably faster than most people, he may become an S-rank adventurer, which will make him attractive to be used by nations to conquer the world. Cecilia also worries that his demonic powers might be discovered, which people might find a threat, and they would try to kill him. Since she is asking him to quit, Yoki will have a problem making a living. So Cecilia proposes hiring him personally, but admits she doesn't make enough to pay him the money an S-rank adventurer would earn. However, Cecilia bows and promises to do what she can as long as he accepts her offer. She even adds that this is for the sake of the country's peace. Yoki is shocked but recovers and declares that he will never serve another country, even if they were to throw beautiful women for him to marry. Confidently, he says that he only has eyes for Cecilia. This earns a laugh, and Cecilia feels relief since she has nothing to worry about. She allows Yoki to stay with the Adventurers Guild with the promise that he is to stay low-key. Cecilia's mother, Celia, soon arrives and joins their discussion. Celia apologizes on behalf of their rude guards and assures Yoki that they will be punished by her maid, Sophia. Yoki believes the guards won't repent for getting scolded, but is shocked when Sophia asks Celia how many bones she should break. Getting to the point of the matter of her appearance, Celia asks Sophia to leave the room and asks Cecilia if she has already shared with Yoki that she received a lot of engagement offers, even one coming from Yuga. Irritated with this knowledge, Yoki kicks up a fuss and Cecilia calms him down. She shares that she turned down all offers, including the heroes. Celia figures out that Yoki also likes her daughter. Embarrassed to be found out, Yoki scratches his head. Celia asks him if he's interested in marrying Cecilia. Caught off guard, Yoki looks at Cecilia and sees her downcast eyes. He apologizes, saying that he will only confess again to Cecilia once he gets a stable life through his adventuring quests and wants to respect Cecilia's wishes. Celia puts on an annoyed expression for not accepting an offer, but eases her expression and tells him that he has passed since there was no way she was going to give Cecilia so easily. She moves to leave and tells Yoki to get along with Cecilia, and that he is always welcome in their home. Yoki and Cecilia go outside to chat a little. Yoki wonders if he truly left a good first impression since it is important for him because he met Cecilia's family. Yoki then requests if he can call Cecilia by her name. Cecilia agrees and wants to call Yoki by his name as well. Yoki shouts in joy since this means his first real progress with his relationship with Cecilia. A red streak of light emerges from the forest. A monster, a cockatrice, launches several attacks at Yoki. He successfully evades deep into the forest, effortlessly stepping back from each powerful attack. The cockatrice screams, chasing after him to an open area. Yoki prepares a spell just as the cockatrice is about to attack. Before the cockatrice attacks, Yoki casts his spell, defeating it. Yoki successfully collects the monster's feathers, completing the quest. He feels proud of himself because the quest should have taken a week, but he only needed a day to do it. Suddenly, Yoki gets attacked by his old comrades since they do not recognize him. He calls out to them and Seek is the first to recognize that he is Yoki. They express their relief because they thought he was an adventurer on a hunt. Yoki doesn't have the time to provide answers when Duke goes straight to asking him questions about his whereabouts and human-like appearance. Yoki and Seek calm Duke down while Happiness calmly asks for an explanation. Yoki proudly explains that he had confessed to Cecilia, but had gotten rejected. Now he chooses to live his life as a human adventurer. After he recounts his events, he advises his previous subordinates to lead the life they want. His subordinates refuse, adamant about following him and wanting to know about Cecilia. Yoki scratches his head, worried about their identities getting exposed. The three counter that if Yoki can adapt, then they can too. Seeing no way out, Yoki resigns himself to their wishes and tells them to prepare. Yoki brings his subordinates to Cecilia's estate. Instead of a welcome, Cecilia scolds Yoki for plucking Happiness feathers for a human disguise. Yoki kneels, asking for forgiveness. Over tea, Cecilia finds out that her three new guests were former subordinates of Yoki. Duke explains that they are a Dullahan, Harpy, and Pixie, respectively. Duke wants to remove his head, but they had already attached his helmet and armor so it won't fall off. Yoki complains about Duke's chattiness since Dullahans don't talk as much. Duke calmly tells them that his love for talking is originally Yoki's fault. He tells Cecilia that Yoki used to be hard to talk to. Even Zaichir finds Yoki troublesome since he did not want to follow orders and remained in his room. When Duke attempted to forcibly correct Yoki's behavior, his head was thrown and screamed at. Since then, he had greatly admired Yoki. Cecilia is honestly surprised at their backstories as Duke shares that Happiness and Seek also have the same respect for Yoki. However, when he turns to look for them, he notices that they are gone. Yoki wonders if the two went inside the manor, which could spell trouble for them if their identities are exposed. The three of them begin searching the manor's grounds. They cross paths with Celia, with Seek sleeping on her lap. Yoki admits that Seek is his friend and asks if Celia finds him a bother. Celia dispels his worries, saying that she loves kids and wanted to take care of him once he got tired from playing. Cecilia asks Celia about Happiness' whereabouts. Thinking about it, she recalls that Happiness was taken away by Sophia. Inside the manor, Sophia teaches Happiness to curtsy in a maid uniform. Yoki and the rest rush in and find out that Happiness is now employed as the new maid. Yoki asks why Happiness is wearing a maid outfit in the first place, since she is Yoki's friend and a guest. Sophia turns to Happiness for an explanation, which she clears with a short answer. Sophia deeply apologizes for the confusion. When Yoki asks Happiness to change her clothes, Happiness refuses and expresses her interest in the job. Her reply puzzles the whole group, but seeing the determination in Happiness' eyes, Sophia invites her for a tour of the servants' quarters. With Happiness settled at Cecilia's manor, her old group and Yoki bid her goodbye. While they are sad, they are also happy that Happiness has found her calling, and the fact that they can visit her puts them at ease. While the others express their joy, Celia whispers to Yoki that Cecilia barely has time to rest. She shares that she'll have her daughter take the day off tomorrow, asking Yoki to spend time with her. The next day, Yoki waits outside the inn where he stays. A carriage arrives shortly, and the door opens to reveal Cecilia in casual clothes, a different outfit from her usual. Mesmerized, Yoki compliments Cecilia's glasses, which she uses as a disguise, hiding her identity as a member of the hero's party. Yoki realizes she lives a tough celebrity life. Cecilia apologizes for dragging Yoki along, which he casually brushes off, promising her a great experience. Cecilia giggles at this, looking forward to the day. They walk beside each other in town. A sign for a new cake offering catches Cecilia's attention. They peer inside a cafe, marveling over the cute cakes on display. Cecilia suggests having tea time there later, and Yoki agrees. They go to a flower shop next, where Cecilia marvels over the pretty roses. In his head, Yoki calls her the prettier one. Cecilia pets a stray cat-like creature next, which meows in delight. In her excitement, Cecilia meows back at it in return. Yoki finds this encounter cute, screaming dramatically. At a dress shop, Cecilia tries on a red dress and tentatively asks how she looks. Yoki gives it a thumbs up of approval. After a string of activities, Cecilia remarks that her fatigue from work has faded away. He spots an accessories store and invites Cecilia to check it out. Yuga sees Cecilia from afar and tries to call out to her. McKenna stops him because he might give himself away. Cecilia manages to catch her name and sees them, and Yuga happily approaches her, completely ignoring Yoki in the process. He tells Cecilia that they are also out and about on their day off and were hoping to have a fun time in town. He excitedly invites her to join them. Cecilia declines the invite since she was with Yoki, introducing him as a friend. Yuga stares at him, wondering if he has met Yoki before. A nervous Yoki says no, and Cecilia suspiciously hums in agreement. Yuga decides to include Yoki in the group and drags an unwilling Cecilia to the shop since he noticed she was eyeing it earlier. This saddens Yoki and pisses off McKenna, since it is the first time she has had a date with Yuga since Cecilia always has attention. She turns to Yoki, hoping he is getting along well with Cecilia on their own date. McKenna wishes him good luck, and possibly with Yoki around, Yuga will finally give up on Cecilia. Yoki initially thinks McKenna is a good person, but after being repeatedly called plain-faced, he changes his mind. Looking at the hero's party members, Yoki remembers that Cecilia turned down Yuga's marriage offer. Despite this, Yoki wonders if Yuga is still trying his chances with Cecilia. Yoki rejoins Cecilia, asking if she found anything she likes. Cecilia apologizes for leaving him behind. Since they are in an accessories store, Yoki decides to buy Cecilia a gift as a thank you for helping him and his friends. Overhearing this, Yuga intrudes by announcing he will get both Cecilia and McKenna a gift. Yoki looks at him strangely and wonders if Yuga is competing with him. Yoki sees a blue crystal necklace as a potential gift, which Cecilia finds pretty. Not wanting to lose, Yuga grabs the most expensive hair accessory. He forcibly removes Cecilia's disguise, revealing her identity to the other customers. When people recognize her and the other heroes, they crowd around the hero's party members. They are swept away to another location, except for Yoki. When Yoki recovers, he quickly looks for Cecilia. Yoki sees Raven being crowded by a bunch of girls. He looks familiar to Yoki, but he has trouble recognizing who he is. A man notices his confusion and explains that Raven used to be part of the hero's party. Seeing that he looks troubled, Yoki decides to divert the girl's attention by saying Yuga just passed by. He quickly takes Raven to a secluded alley, and Raven looks for something to give him. Yoki makes a move to leave, but Raven tells him to wait, revealing his childlike voice. Yoki finds out the reason for Raven's quiet nature and respects his secret, since Yoki has his own. Raven stops Yoki from leaving again, asking him to be his friend, since Yoki is one of the few people who does not laugh at him. Realizing Raven's honest effort, Yoki agrees, shaking his hand. He bids Raven a quick goodbye. At a loss, Yoki and Cecilia realize the other must have gone home. Cecilia hears a lost boy crying for his mom. Cecilia approaches him and heals his scraped knee. This does not stop the boy from crying. His ruckus draws the attention of Yoki, who decides to cheer the boy up by comically declaring it his new mission to find the boy's mother. This makes Cecilia smile, but she quickly scolds him. The kid bursts into laughter because he finds it funny that a grown man can be scolded. After calming down, the two begin searching for the boy's mother. Yoki advises Cecilia to go home in case her disguise ends up getting blown again, but Cecilia tells him not to worry, saying they'll figure it out when it happens. When Yoki isn't facing her, she lets out a sneeze. Meanwhile, Yuga drags McKenna on a search for Cecilia. McKenna asks him to stop since he might draw attention again and Cecilia may have gone home. Yuga gets mad and scolds McKenna since she makes it seem like she doesn't care about Cecilia. He runs off, unaware he left a sad McKenna behind. Yuga sees Cecilia and Yoki together, finally reuniting the kid with his mother. He smiles and looks behind for McKenna, only to see she is nowhere to be found. The next day, Yoki visits Cecilia only for Celia to inform him that Cecilia has fallen ill. As much as Yoki blames himself, Celia says that Yuga contributed to most of Cecilia's fatigue. He even tried to visit her, but Sophia had managed to fight him off. Yoki looks at Sophia uneasily, wondering how scary she really is. Seeing that Yoki is worried, Celia allows him to visit Cecilia. Sophia knocks on the door to inform Cecilia that Yoki is here to visit. He peeks a little before entering the door, charmed at the sight of Cecilia's room. His gaze spots her on the bed, and she apologizes for being sick. He sits beside her on a stool, and Yoki apologizes for ruining her day off, which Cecilia brushes off casually. Still, Yoki admits he made her visit many places. Cecilia relents, saying if it is Yoki's fault, he should go out with her again on her next day off. Seeing the promise of another date, Yoki dramatically accepts, and his outrageous speech makes them both laugh. Sophia barges in and gives Yoki a headlock after the laugh escalates into a cough. Sophia literally throws him out, and Happiness closes the manor doors after him, calling it useless to fight Sophia. As he walks away from the manor, he sees Raven, who is equally surprised to see him. Seeing this as a golden opportunity, Raven decides to ask for advice, admitting that he's actually interested in someone who likes his voice. Seeing how bashful he has gotten, Yoki can't help but compare Raven to a boy going through puberty. He tells Raven to have more confidence because he has a lot of good qualities and is even a hero. Raven smiles and agrees, deciding it's time to confess his feelings. It takes a moment for Yoki to realize that Raven is possibly here to confess to Cecilia. After realizing that Raven is a potential rival, Yoki panics. He begins imagining all the moments they can develop a romantic relationship. Before Yoki can even confirm his theory, a dispirited Raven returns. Yoki takes one look and thinks Raven must have been rejected. Yoki returns to Cecilia's home to check on her, but his concern only makes Sophia suspicious since they were just together. Yoki asks about Raven's visit and Sophia confirms that Raven did come by. She adds that Raven was asking to see Happiness, much to Yoki's surprise. Yoki catches Happiness sweeping the walkway outside the house. He asks if Raven came to see her, then quickly adds that Raven is his friend, earning a reaction from Happiness. Yoki asks if Raven confessed and what her reply was. Happiness answers bluntly that it's impossible. Yoki understands that the harsh response is what caused Raven to be so disheartened, but he's aware he cannot force Happiness to like him. Instead of answering, Happiness runs away from him. Back at the inn, Yoki gathers Seek and Duke to talk about Happiness and Raven, making Seek remember him as the human who kept losing to Yoki. Duke questions Yoki for letting a human get close to Happiness, but Yoki denies even trying to set them up. Duke insists that even if a human loves her, Happiness won't receive it well, because she's a harpy and humans hunted her race for their feathers. Duke saved her, and that's how she ended up joining the Demon Lord's army. Seek counters that Happiness might not completely hate humans if she chose to work at Cecilia's manor. Yoki understands Duke's concern, but he says Raven isn't a bad guy, though Duke still doesn't look convinced. The next day, Yoki visits the Adventurer Guild, but he can't find Clayman anywhere. One of the receptionists asks if he's looking for the Vice Guild Master. Yoki pauses and asks who that is, only to realize it's Clayman's official title. The news surprises him since Yoki always thought Clayman was a slacker, but Clayman actually holds an important position. When Yoki asks where Clayman is, the receptionist whispers that he is at the hospital, but that information needs to be kept a secret for the sake of the guild's dignity. Yoki drops by the hospital and finds Clayman covered in bandages. Clayman admits he made his wife angry. Their wedding anniversary was the other day, and he spent the whole day trying to pick a gift, but couldn't settle on anything, so he got kicked out of the shop and didn't even make it to dinner. His wife thought he forgot the anniversary completely. He received a beating from her which landed him in the hospital, and Yoki now understands why the guild wanted to keep it a secret. Yoki comments that Clayman's wife must be strong. Clayman says they both used to be A-rank adventurers, and they even worked as a team for high-level commissions. People gave them the nickname Invincible Couple of Apathy, but Yoki thinks the nickname is lame. Yoki offers to heal him, but Clayman refuses. He says he wants to stay injured so his wife can nurse him back to health. Then Sophia walks in and Yoki is surprised that she's there to visit Clayman. Clayman greets her enthusiastically, which earns him a kick from Sophia. Clayman comments that he can see under her skirt, and Sophia says she doesn't mind because she is his wife. Yoki looks at her in admiration for how confident she is in announcing that she is married to Clayman. Sophia bows to Yoki and thanks him for visiting. Yoki asks about Cecilia, and Sophia says Cecilia's fever has already gone down and she's doing much better. Sophia also shares that Cecilia is out on business. Yoki then asks Sophia if girls really care about presents. Sophia's aura turns grim and she asks if her husband said something. Yoki panics, avoids the question, and remembers the last time he wanted to give Cecilia a gift. He explains that he had thought about getting her something because he wants to make her happy. Sophia tells him that if the gift comes with genuine thoughts, Cecilia will be delighted. Yoki feels relieved and bids her farewell. As Yoki walks in town, his mood is good because he saw how loving a married couple can be. He starts imagining Cecilia as his wife. Yoki snaps back to reality, wondering why he pictured Cecilia in a modern setting from his past life. He heads to the Night Order's dorm to find Raven. When he finds his room, he finds Raven lying on the bed, rotting away. He tries to call for his attention, but Raven seems deaf to his calls. Raven immediately finds the energy to sit up when Yoki mentions Happiness' name. To fix Raven's confusion, Yoki shares that Happiness is his friend. He explains that part of the reason for his visit is because he wants to learn how they met. Raven explains that he met her during one of his patrols. He saw thugs cornering Happiness, so he decided to step in. The thugs threw insults and one tried to punch him, but Raven dodged. One of them recognized him, so they decided to flee. Raven was about to leave, but Happiness tugged on his cape. He spoke without thinking and belatedly let his voice out. He froze and covered his mouth, conscious of how he sounded. Happiness noticed right away. She told him his voice was nice. Embarrassed, Raven said his voice and his face didn't match, but Happiness insisted that she didn't care, and that she was jealous of what he had. She thanked him and left, but she stayed on his mind. Raven admits that Happiness' maid uniform looked familiar, which is why he ended up in the manor which Yoki indicates belongs to Cecilia's family. Raven asks how Yoki even knows Cecilia, so Yoki shares his story, though a made-up one to cover his demon identity. Raven is amazed that Yoki abandoned his homeland just to be with the person he loves. He praises Yoki, saying he's amazing for working hard as an adventurer to become a man worthy of her. Raven, however, admits he feels like he isn't getting anywhere with Happiness. Yoki tries to comfort him and says Happiness isn't good with men, and she has past trauma. Raven starts to believe his confession scared her. Yoki says that's not necessarily true, and that he shouldn't give up on her too early. He invites Raven to go out, and they end up visiting an accessory shop. Raven looks tense and says they feel out of place, but Yoki insists that it's fine. Yoki spots the necklace he wanted to give Cecilia before and buys it immediately. Then he notices Raven quietly looking for something for Happiness. They find an accessory with pink feathers, and Yoki says it would look good on her and that Raven should buy it. Raven hesitates and asks if a gift from a stranger would scare her. Yoki tells Raven that anyone would like a present as long as it is sincere, and adds that the design is something Happiness might like. Thinking about Happiness, Raven makes up his mind that if he gets the chance to see Happiness again, he'll give it to her. He writes on paper instead of speaking, so the cashier won't hear his voice when he buys the accessory. McKenna spots them and immediately recognizes Yoki. She approaches them and makes fun of their presence in an accessory shop meant for girls. Yoki gets defensive before proudly declaring they are there to buy presents for the ones they love, which earns him a hush motion from Raven. McKenna grins mischievously as she tries to coax Raven into admitting who he likes, but Raven only avoids eye contact with her. McKenna quickly understands why he isn't speaking to her is because she had made fun of him when they first met. The remorse on her face makes Yoki surprised that she acknowledges her mistakes. Soon, people in the shop start recognizing McKenna and Raven. McKenna suggests they move somewhere else so they can talk more. At a restaurant, McKenna complains that they're not even talking since they keep eating to evade her. To get Yoki to start talking, she casually mentions Cecilia. At the mere mention of her name, Yoki immediately begins sharing his status with her. He admits that they technically are not dating since Cecilia is always busy and has to deal with several proposals. He shares that he is aware Yuga had recently gotten rejected by her. McKenna explains that it's only natural for Cecilia to reject Yuga because all Yuga does is anger her. McKenna starts listing several instances where Yuga had annoyed them. She also points out that because Yuga is popular, he often causes trouble for the party. McKenna recalls a past journey where Yuga insisted on staying the night for his fangirls and Cecilia shut the suggestion down. McKenna warns Yoki that Cecilia doesn't tolerate men who treat women carelessly, and it's dangerous to piss her off. McKenna turns the conversation to Raven, but Yoki cuts in and says he'll protect Raven's pure love. McKenna snaps that she shouldn't be treated like a villain since she wants to help Raven too. McKenna says she understands when people want to talk about love. Raven wonders if she has a relationship issue. McKenna denies it at first, but Raven points out that Yoki is dependable when it comes to these things. After a pause, McKenna finally admits what's been weighing on her. She thinks Yuga must hate her now because of something that happened. Yoki braces himself since the topic seems heavy. McKenna explains that it started during their repeated defeats at the Demon Lord's castle. Yoki already knows, but he forces himself to act clueless. She says they weren't losing to the Demon Lord, but to the demon guarding the middle section. Every time they lost, the party got dragged back to the nearest human village and were even healed. But they kept lying to the villagers, claiming they withdrew from the middle section so they could prepare themselves for their standoff with the Demon Lord. They didn't want the villagers to know they lost to a guard because it would be humiliating for the party and Yuga. They kept getting defeated for a month and the village provisions started running low. When things got desperate, the demon offered the condition to leave Cecilia behind. McKenna was the one who persuaded the party to accept it. She believes that's why Yuga hates her for it. Raven, using his voice, tells Yoki not to blame McKenna because he did not refuse the offer. Yoki asks if McKenna ever told Cecilia how she felt. McKenna shakes her head, believing asking for forgiveness feels too cheeky. Yoki persuades her to do it, and McKenna eventually agrees because the party really matters to her. They watch McKenna leave, and Raven expresses he doesn't want to end things here. He gathers the courage and announces he will go see Happiness again. They end up visiting Cecilia's manor, and Duke spots them and greets Yoki. He doesn't recognize Raven, so Yoki introduces him. Duke finds out that Raven is the one who confessed to Cecilia. Not liking his presence or how he refuses to talk, Duke doesn't take too kindly to him, refusing to hand over Happiness. Yoki tries to explain that Duke is only protected because he knew Happiness for a long time. Despite Yoki's attempt to calm him down, Duke continues to demand that Raven leave Happiness alone. Raven finally talks and admits that he doesn't know much about happiness. Duke is baffled by his answer, because a man would usually declare that he will protect the ones he loves. However, Raven shakes his head and says it isn't like him to say such things. The answer surprises Duke, and they soon see happiness at the side. Instead of acting harshly, Duke pushes Raven forward and tells him he should say what he wants to her. When Yoki gives him an unsure look, Duke admits he was only testing Raven, and it should be Happiness who chooses who she wants to be with. Raven approaches her and apologizes for confessing so suddenly. He then shyly holds up his present and nervously asks her to be his friend. Happiness takes the bag and says that she wouldn't mind being friends with him. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss a new episode every week.